You know some of those people, Kara, on the video.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of review questions. 5455. What's the name of the new school district? 5455. Claire, what do you got? It's not UDA. You got it. Upper Dauphin Joint. Mascot? Teeter? Husky. What year does Upper Dauphin Joint merge with Lycans to become Upper Dauphin area? Upper Dauphin area. Go ahead.
64.
Close. 65, 66 school year. Keep in mind, the school year starts in the fall and then ends the following year. So it's 64, 65 was the year of the merger. Go into that same attachment there that I asked you to take a look at. The reading packet. Okay, let's try this again. Go to the reading packet PDF. Go to page 5. We're at the very top. You'll see Bob and Vivian June Kissinger. Come down to about halfway down from Mike Miller. And we'll take a look at this. As you can see up here on the screen, this is Mike Miller. So he put this together because obviously he was involved in being in school when the merger took place. Okay, so let's take a look at that. From Mike Miller. Nicholas, if you would, please.
We were actually Upper Dauphin Joint Huskies until the dawn of 1965 became UDA in the fall of 1965. Ironically, our basketball team lost in the playoffs to Lycans at Tri-Valley in 1965, and Lycans went on to play for the state title at Bucknell.
Bucknell, yep.
I remember being on the bench as a sophomore in tears as the final seconds were winding down. If I recall correctly, Andy Smith from the Lycans tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Good game, Mike. We will be together next year." The end of a great basketball rivalry that was.
Okay, Brady, if you would.
I do remember choosing the mascot. It actually took place by vote. It was through body and auditorium after school started in the fall of 1965. I remember there were many choices, but it came down to Trojans and Spartans in the final vote. At the meeting, we also agreed on the current school colors and elected the various class officers. Interestingly enough, Randy Stroud reminded me the football team didn't have a mascot when the season started, and the uniform for a combination of both Vikings and
Okay, so there you can see the mascot again, controversial. Not exactly sure how the Trojan, the Spartans were actually came down to that. No one seems to remember how those were the choices, but the Trojans were selected, and that's the mascot. Okay. So just go through. We saw this on Friday. This would have been the Lycans team. Okay, and again, they played for the state championship at Bucknell. So anyone that was a junior or younger came to Upper Dauphin area, and they created this team. So again, two great teams there, back to back. Again, I showed you this the other day. Again, a couple people that I know of on here, but again, sometimes a woman changes the last name, so obviously the maiden names. Showed you this the other day. Kara, do you recognize that guy? That is Paul Nice. You see the resemblance?
Yeah.
Okay, a couple band pictures. Just go through a couple more pictures. The auditorium, which was part of the 64-65 school year, the completion, it actually would have been before that at Upper Dauphin Joint. Not a whole lot has changed there. Just mention this. As you can see there at the top, those are the faculty. And as I had mentioned, it was expected and demanded and required that male teachers wore sport coats and ties. There was no getting around that. That was the dress code for teachers. Obviously, dress has changed a lot in the last 60 years plus, but nonetheless. How about the gymnasium? What do you see there? Different, the same? What do you see? Yeah, the rings, which they did. That's part of gymnastics. Yep. The scoreboard. Also, look at the backboards. Steel, not glass like we have there now. Yep, absolutely. The mats behind the basketball hoops. At that time, actually, phys ed was part of what you were graded for it, and that was part of being on the honor roll. So if you couldn't do certain things in a right amount of time and things like that, you would actually could get a failing grade in gym class, for lack of a better way of putting it. Now it's not that same way, but it was then. Now wellness is. Okay. Band hallway changed. Same room though. Here you can see the top right there. If you look, that's the office. So that'd be where Mrs. Mosser and Mrs. Campbell are. Down there at the bottom, you can see the mailboxes. Supervising principal, that would be like the superintendent. Here at the bottom, I do want you to know this guy, Lynn Kitzmiller, okay? Lynn Kitzmiller. Just know that name. He was the principal. Kitz Miller. By the time I got to high school in the 80s, he had been retired, but he actually came back to fill in as a substitute principal. And I got to know him. Well, we all got to know him. He was the nicest guy. He was a math teacher. He'd just walk right into study halls, help students, things like that. You know, he's very helpful. I told you the one time, well, I told you how it was with the heat and how it got hot in this building. One time he actually called everybody on the PA system down to the gymnasium. And we went down there, and at the concession stand down here, he bought everybody a popsicle and a soda. Bought it for us. Just didn't charge us anything. He paid for it himself. He was that kind of guy. He was just a really nice guy. Cared about the students, loved the students. I'll tell you what, cross him up and you had a problem. Cross him up, you'd have a problem. He was your best friend. He'd advocate for you. He'd do everything he could. Break a rule, talk to him the wrong way, and you were in trouble. He was a World War II veteran. He was a Marine, and he did not put up with anything. Let's just put it that way. But if I don't want to misrepresent him though. He was a great guy. He really was, and he'd help everybody. The teachers liked him. The students liked him. The one thing you didn't want to do was give him a hard time. If you did it, you'd do it once. You didn't do it a second time. I'll tell you that. But anyway, that's that. Okay. This picture is not the faculty. That's the school board. And as you can see, once again, many of the towns and townships got together and had representatives there. Again, the boards of education, thought that was kind of neat going back in the day. I'll just go through this, just showing you some pictures. And there's Elizabethville, once again, 1935. Okay, I just mentioned this from the fall of 72 until October. Half days are actually held at the high school. See, what happened is the middle school wasn't ready yet. So this building was ready, but the middle school wasn't open. So they actually had half days. Now, I don't know if you're in co-op or anything like that, but can you imagine your senior year going a half day and that was it? Okay. So they had half days. And then the middle school, I do want you to just make a quick note of that, did open in October of 1972. So the middle school is coming up on 50 years old. Again, I think something that's really interesting about that middle school opening is where it's located. And I think that really solved a lot of the issues where people were upset about Lycans closing and the school colors, the mascot, all of that.
Shame the traffic's still goes bad.
What's that?
Shame the traffic don't goes bad.
Shame the traffic's what?
Down bad there. It's an issue.
At the middle school?
It's just usually just takes a while to get out. It takes a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Even with the, and with the school zone flashing there, then it seems like the traffic backs up. Then you got the stoplight there, and then it really backs up. So if you're stuck there at the stop sign to turn right or left on 209, yeah, you might sit there a while. Okay, Upper Dahlonega School District, the middle school opened 72. If you look at that picture, you'll notice that the middle elementary school is not on the back side there. That wasn't added till the 1990s. Actually, 1990 to be exact. Okay. So there you can see the elementary was added later on. This is it over here. And this would be the original middle school, and then this is the elementary that was added on. Now, before we go through this, where were the 4 elementary schools once again? Anybody remember where the 4 of them are? Austin, where's one? Gratz. Weaver, where's another one? Where was another one? Good. Barrysburg, Lycans, and Elizabethville, right up here with the old school. Those were the 4 elementaries. Well, if you remember when I talked about the Elizabethville school, how old it was started back in the 1800s. Lycans was also old as well. Barrysburg was old. The only new building, technically new building, was the one in Gratz. So the school boards got together and they decided that they were going to close the elementary schools and build the new wing onto the middle school. And I say new wing, it's been there 32 years now, but I remember that well. That was very controversial. Okay, that was very controversial. There were a lot of people that didn't want to close the community schools. If you lived in Elizabethville, you probably walked to school. If you lived in Lycans, you walked to elementary. Barrysburg, same thing. Now you're getting on a bus, you're going, and obviously you are all used to that. But at the time, a lot of people weren't. And I do remember those school board meetings. They got pretty, let's say it this way, exciting. I mean, they got very exciting. There were a lot of people, and then some people got on the board after they had already voted to build the new building and pay for it in some cases. People got on the board to block it, wanted to redo the old school buildings and stop this project. And it really was a lot of fighting, a lot of controversy, a lot of politics went into this. I was in college at the time taking a political science course, and we had to write about a controversial issue. Needless to say, I had a lot of material there. A lot of material. I went to the school board meetings, listened to this. I mean, it was a lot of controversy. And if you know anybody that was around involved in the district, Austin mentioned something where his dad said something. There was a lot of opinions on this. Since then, though, I think a lot of people got over it. Again, that was 32 years ago. So obviously, all of you would have gone to that school. Okay. All right. So what was this? Does anybody recognize that building? It's up on Broad Street. Does it look familiar?
Yeah.
You know what's there now?
What is it?
The actual name of it. Do you know it by any chance? What's it called? Well, it's an assisted living, I guess. But it's actually called the Hollywood Courts. And the reason why it's called the Hollywood Courts is that the Hollywood movie theater was actually there. And then right next door, that white building, that became a dentist's office, but that was actually a place where kids hung out after school. Okay, so that's right down the street. That building was actually there. That was the Hollywood movie theater. Now, by the time I went to elementary school across the street, that was closed. But I'll throw this out for a little bit of trivia there. The last movie they showed there was in 1976. Anybody want to take a guess? And I'd be willing to say probably every one of you have either seen the movie or have heard of the movie. Go ahead.
Back to the Future.
That was 1984.
Oh.
It's before that. And it was not Star Wars. That was 78, I believe. It was a very popular movie. I don't really know how to give you a hint without giving it away. Go ahead.
Jaws.
Jaws, yes. That was actually the last movie they showed there. And then they closed it down. That was the Hollywood movie theater. Okay? And that's the inside of the place next door. I don't really know exactly. That's a good question. I mean, it was an old building. I remember actually they had the Elizabethville Carnival right next door to it, and you'd literally see thousands of bats flying in and out. I mean, it was crazy. That's not me. That was before I was born. So if you're gonna ask, don't.
It'd be cool if it was still there.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we have one in Millersburg.
Yes.
But that's the building itself. Okay, when they were building it, just a couple pictures. Show you there. Now you can see this building next door. So that was kind of a restaurant, hangout. Kids would go there, and then right next door was where the movie theater was. Okay, back to that attachment there. That on canvas, please. Go to page 3. And you see there the mascot up at the top, Trojan Soldier, average class size 100, and then down there you got the middle school information. Keep going down through there. I thought that was kind of interesting. If you look at the junior class play, the Thanksgiving dance, but then take a look at one of the last things there, the Hollywood Grill, which this was the Hollywood Grill. Take a look at what was on the menu there. The prices.
What does CMP stand for?
Chocolate, marshmallow,
Peanut butter.
peanuts, or peanut butter, yes. Yep. It's good. Have one.
So you multiply all of that by 10, and you come about average egg prices.
Really, that seems even cheap for that, too.
That's true.
I don't think you get too many Sundays for $3. You know what I mean?
You're paying 5%.
I bet.
I would kill for things to be this cheap
Now
nowadays.
you're really getting a banana split in love with $3.50. That one probably multiplied by 20.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I think that's a little short, I would think. I remember going up to Indian Trail when it was the R&K Diner back in the 70s. And it was a family. I have two brothers, a brother and a sister, two siblings, and my mother and father. So there were five of us. On a Sunday after church, we'd go up there for a Sunday dinner. And I remember my dad would give me a $10 bill to go pay the bill. Now he'd have to watch me to make sure I didn't mess it up. $10 for a family of five.
Now,
Like how you're paying 100 or
Well, you're going to pay $10 at McDonald's just for a value meal, especially if you supersize
That's like
it.
15.
Yeah, yeah.
No, now to go to.
I know. I stopped there with my sons. We stopped in over Thanksgiving, and it was like $50 for the three of us. I remember when it was $2.99 for a value meal.
that's like a single meal for a single person anymore is $20 or $30. You go out to eat.
Oh, at least. Down the street, then, you probably recognize this building. That was called the Kisses. There were two people who, well, husband and wife who lived there, and their last name was Kissinger. So they started a restaurant there called the Kisses, and that was upstairs. I'm sorry, they lived upstairs. Down below was where the restaurant was. After that, it became the post office. Okay? But kids would go there and hang out and have a good time as well. Go ahead over to page 4 then. At the top, it reads hot beef sandwich, 55 cents, Elizabethville Kisses. Everybody see where we're at? If not, say something. Everybody good? Okay, then this was written by Mina Buffington in the Upper Dauphin Sentinel. She put this together. She went and attended this, or went to this restaurant when she was in high school. By Mina Buffington, the Elizabethville Kisses. Chloe, will you start us and then just call somebody if you would?
Hershey Kisses are really good, and now they tell us that a little bit of chocolate every day is good for your heart. But if you lived in Elizabethville in the 50s, the sweet treat for the teenagers was the Kisses, a local restaurant in the building that now houses the post office.